VCs will look at a deck in about 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Do you have an idea of how long you take to actually go through the deck before you decide what to do?
I think sometimes VCs usually like take even less time to look at the pitch deck because yeah, I think so. If you can look at 30 seconds, you can really understand what's in. So if you wanna like go and spend more time or not.
Welcome back to another episode of the We Live to Build podcast. This is episode 218 with Almaz Adilbaev. I know I butchered the name. I did the best that I could. He is the co-founder of Changels, a Chicago-based angel syndicate, and they focus on investing in underrepresented founders in the US and in the former Soviet Union bloc of countries. And in this interview, we talked about the things that he sees founders do that cause them to fail, things that they do that cause them to succeed, the differences between VC and angel, the benefits of working with an angel syndicate, and so much more. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let's get to it. What made you want to become an investor?
I landed an internship with a prominent venture capital firm at that time. So it was based in Moscow, and we invested in the Russian copycats of the successful business models of American startups. So basically, we invested in the Russian version of Netflix, the Russian version of Booking, Airbnb. Some of them actually like were super successful, but some of them were not. But yeah, that experience was really like mind changing. And after that, I just got in love with with venture investments, because before that, while studying, like doing my undergrad, so I did my undergrad in business administration, economics, and mathematics. So I was pretty much knowledgeable about investments and loved it so much. So that's why I chose this path. But yeah, my first internship was really like the foundation of the whole my career after that.
What did you learn that startup founders would be able to value this information?
The first lesson learned would be that look at the trends and follow the trends. The second thing is, I think that sometimes startups failed because of the really uh, bad team dynamics with startup founders, and sometimes I think that at that time, like everything was on the raise and the market like was very hot, so that's why startups raised a lot of funding. I think the same happens in the US like 5 years ago, and the startup founders like assign them like very high salary, like just would imagine like very big amounts just compared to the funding they raised, and just yeah, let's spend this money and feels like like most of them lost motivation. And yeah, I know that one of the setups failed because of this. They couldn't motivate themselves enough to compete with the top companies, for example, like I mean, the Booking or Airbnb. So it was one of these companies that failed. And the last lesson I would say was, yeah, I mean, the founders thought, I mean, this situation would last forever. So just, yeah, they was thinking, as I said, the market was really hot. There was very few startups. Yeah, I would say like tens of really high quality companies, and a lot of venture money is just chasing all these hot startups and very big rounds, a lot of burn and unnecessary big headcounts. So all this led to the situation when most of the startups failed and actually closed. But some of them that did this really well and were pretty effective. They just withstand this all these situations and became very successful. Because as you may know that after that, in 2014, all this crisis began, all these crisis situations in the Russian economy, all this tough like political situation, and yeah, and only like the strongest companies could survive.
What do you see as the biggest difference from VC and angel investing?
Yeah, I would say the difference is pretty big, but there are a lot of similarities. For example, when you work in VC, so you actually, yeah, you have a team of analysts and associates doing all this analysis, due diligence, and so on and so forth. So they're doing like diving pretty deep, trying to understand the industry, the companies, competitors, and trying to identify the best company and to invest, put all the money into this company. So while in Angel Syndicate or in Angel, so you don't have all these resources. So you have pretty restricted, limited source of capital that you should put on into all these companies. And at the same time, you're pretty much limited in your resources. It's usually one person or maybe two persons as a syndicate, just founders, and maybe one analyst doing some analysis and helping all this with due diligence and admin stuff. But in terms of the so this is sort of cons for angels. But as for the pros and advantages, so angels are pretty much very quick in decision making. So they can do decision just in one day, wire the money, and just yeah, just be very quick and help the setup actually raise it pretty fast. For example, as a VC investor, you usually go through multiple steps, so, like the initial analysis, initial investment committee, like deep dive, doing some due diligence, and then second investment committee, negotiations, term sheets, or whatever, and then actually transfer this money. It could take like a couple of months or maybe 6 months. So, anyways, you cannot do it like pretty fast because investment committees sometimes just yeah they just gather like every month and discuss all the companies. But as an angel syndicate, it's as far as I know, they usually gather every other week and just yeah discuss all the companies, make quick decisions, and then work with the angels, and then yeah, just transfer the money. It's yeah, it's really pretty fast, I would say. But the in terms of the quality of the analysis, yeah, angels for sure they rely on VCs or other investors a lot.
You mentioned a few reasons why startups that you were involved with from the investment side failed. Can you name some things that you saw startups do that caused them to be successful?
I would start with the industry expertise because especially now access to technology is pretty low, so and everybody is sort of like on the same ground. So industry expertise is what make a difference. So usually we look at people who spend years or even tens of years, like in the specific industry, for example, in healthcare, in logistics, or financial services. It means that they know this industry inside out, so they made connections. They may know their potential clients, potential investors, other people doing similar businesses, so they can look for synergies. So this is very important for us. The second thing, yeah, I would say it's an entrepreneurial or a founding experience. That's also very important because yeah, when you just left your corporate, yeah, and we know that all founders are very smart people, very energetic, and they usually like get things done. But yeah, it usually takes them time to figure out how to run a startup. It's different from your corporate life. For example, before you work at some a food and beverage company, and now you're running some startup in this industry as well. But yeah, that's completely different. So you had pretty big budgets before. Right now, you have pretty limited resources. You need to attract really high quality talent. At the same time, do sales, do fundraising, and just yeah, get things done. And yeah, it's really tough. I think that very few people really understand it just before starting that. Yeah, they were assuming okay, if they were pretty successful in the corporate life, they would be successful in the entrepreneurial life. It usually happens, but in our experience, so when you're doing your third business or fourth business, yeah, I think that starting from these numbers, you're getting pretty much like understanding of like how to run a successful startup, because yeah, that's a completely different story. Yeah, and the last thing I would say is yeah, in terms of the team and founders and their experiences, experience in fundraising and experience in managing team, experience in raising team. I think it's also very important because yeah, managing a team of 5 or 10 people is completely different from managing 50, 100, or 200 people. Yeah, that's completely different. Yeah, and sometimes founders do not really understand. Yeah, they do not have really expertise or yeah to do this, and so that's why you just maybe just step back and see like if it can bring like more experienced people, more experienced hires, like some managers with like this kind of experience before, or just I don't know, learn it from scratch. I think that yeah, if they learn it how to run a startup, yeah, they would learn it this too. But yeah, they should acknowledge this problem, and this problem exists, and just like yeah, be proactive in solving this.
When someone sends you a deck, how long do you look at that deck before you decide if you want to show it to anybody else? Because I've seen things like VCs will look at a deck in about 3 minutes and 25 seconds. So do you have an idea of how long you take to actually go through the deck before you decide what to do?
I think sometimes VCs usually like take even less time to look at the pitch deck, because yeah, I think that if you can look at 30 seconds, you can really understand what's in. So if you want to like go and spend more time or not.
If you're only giving them 30 seconds, what do they need to do for you to be willing to go to the next slide and the next slide and the next slide? How do they keep your attention for longer than 30 seconds?
Sometimes like when you look at the deck, it's not really clear from the first two slides. So like what will be in the speech, what is this pitch, what the pitch is about. Because yeah, when you look at the like problem or solution, or it's not really clear what this guy is solving, why this is a really big pain, and why the market is big, and why your team is unique to solving this problem. So it's not really clear. So yeah, I think that like every experienced VC or investor can really grasp it, like from 2 or 3 slides, just like skimming them through and just spending maybe 10 seconds. So it should be really like catchy. So when you look at the headline on the top, and yeah, we are solving this because this is our solution. This is why we are unique.
Hey, just give me 10 seconds of your time. I really appreciate you listening to the episode so far, and I hope you're loving it. And if you are, I would love to ask you to subscribe to the channel, because what we do is a lot of work. And every week we bring you a new guest and a new story. And what we do requires so much love so that we can bring you something amazing. And every week we're trying really hard to get better guests that have better stories and improve our ability to tell their stories. So your subscription lets the algorithm know that what we're doing is fantastic. And no commitment, it's free to do. And if you don't like what we're doing later on, you can always unsubscribe. And either way, we would love a like if you don't feel like subscribing at this time. Thank you very much, and we'll take you back. Was there ever a founder who said something or did something, or their deck was a certain kind of a company that your instant reaction was, no, get away from me, don't contact me again? They said something, they did something, and their business was just so awful, or they were awful. Like, do you have a specific experience you can share?
So sometimes people send like blurb which is like 1 page long or even 2 pages. So it's very long sentences. So yeah, I would say it's very everything in a deck. They just put it like in a some sentences so nobody reads this. So just yeah, don't do it. Second mistake in terms of the deck is if they see the deck, which is 30 pages long and a lot of words and unnecessary I don't know, like pages with some market analysis and whatnot. So I think that yeah, it's most likely nobody will just look at it because yeah, it's too long. So VCs they have a lot of startups, they have a lot of inbounds coming in. So and yeah, they just want to spend time as like much efficient as possible, and they want to spend time on the startups that on or founders that did the analysis before, they did their homework, and they know what they are doing. But sometimes even emails are like pretty long. I know, like 500 words, some essays, like writing this and this. Like nobody is interested in reading like very long messages.
Do you open every single email? Or are you biased and you go, oh, well, that title, that subject title is interesting. I'm going to click on that one. But then someone else's title is high and you're like, I'm not going to open that one because I don't know what they're talking about, right? So how do you look at that? Do you bias yourself towards opening certain emails?
If you look at the email, I think it's pretty much clear from what is inside. Like, is it a really good startup? Is it worth picking or not? So what we usually do is like we look at the short description. So we look at the blurb. So blurb is really important, just highlighting why we should talk to you, why we should have an intro call. Then we look at the founders, usually CEOs, LinkedIn, saying, okay, if it really fits, do this guy have really this industry experience? What they said, and is it's really like match between what you guys did before and what you are doing now. Uh, yeah, and yeah, that's it. And I think everybody likes like big names like I don't know, Google or Meta or like some software engineers at like top AI startups or uh, I don't know, some big schools or whatever. Yeah, everybody likes this. So this is, yeah, I would say the good first ticket to the first call. Yeah, but then after that, it's all about what you actually do. What's your setup about? Do you have any really good traction?
What's the value of going with a syndicate over individual angels?
So when you work with angel syndicates, I think that yeah, you have a lot of resources. Actually, it's other angels who also work along with you. So and it's lead angels. So for example, we act like lead angels. So we find all these setups, we do analysis, we do all this negotiation on behind, and yeah, and you can actually decrease your check. So for example, just being as an just angel investor. So for example, in a pre-seed round, sometimes yeah, I mean some really great startups may not might not take your check because it might be too small for them. But if you like collect all this money as a syndicate and put just in one bulk, I know, 25K or 50K. So I think yeah, it sounds pretty okay because I mean you might have like I don't know 100K for example for angel investment. So you can invest like in five startups for example, 20K per company as an individual angel investor. But this is anyways it's pretty high risk because it's just only five startups. But if you work with angel syndicates, you can invest, for example, in 10 startups or 15 startups because you work along with other angels and you have greater pipeline. They might have other uh, resources so that they can pull the money, attract startups, do some networking, build connections. Yeah, I think that it's, it's only advantages in my opinion.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you feel is really valuable advice you can give to founders?
In an angel syndicate as an investor, so you'll have really access to a really great pipeline. So access to venture capital firm is like like much higher because I mean to be an LP in a venture capital firm, so you need to put at least 100K, 100K investment. So to be part of the angel syndicate, to be an LP investor in the venture capital firms, you need 100K minimum. But to be an investor with an angel syndicate, so you don't need to commit any money. So you can just invest on it like ad hoc basis, or if you like some startup, so you can invest. And the excess of the deal is pretty much the same. So I would say the quality of the analysis, the quality of the startups is pretty much the same. Maybe just to compare it to top venture capital firms, it might be 100%. And with venture firms, if you're an LP, but with angel syndicates, it might be 95%. But the excess is, yeah, excess is pretty big, so you can just join a syndicate, look at the deals, and co-invest with the lead with the lead angels, with the lead investors.